Welcome back to the follow-up video to 12 Forgotten Sitcom Classics, aptly named 12 More Forgotten Sitcom Classics. Yep, lots of creativity there. I greatly appreciated all the feedback on the original video, both positive and negative, especially suggestions as to what shows may have been left out. Thus, we bring you the following 12 sitcoms, all of which were suggested at least once in the comments by you, the viewers. Thank you for that. The original video is linked in the description below if you have yet to watch it or wish to revisit it. And if you haven't already, please consider smacking that subscribe button and dinging the bell for notifications. The rules are the same. The sitcom must have debuted before the year 2000 and run at least 50 episodes. And the terms forgotten and classics are used a bit loosely. Enjoy! Whew, made it. Police procedurals on television are nothing new, with shows like Brooklyn Nine-Nine able to successfully take the genre into the realm of comedy. But the forebearer to shows like these was Barney Miller. The show creators were able to take the simplest of settings, a police station, fill it with an array of characters all fitting a relatable archetype, and let the genius of the cast carry the day. Perhaps the most glowing endorsement of Barney Miller was that, by and large, the show was liked by actual police officers, noting its more accurate portrayal of police life as compared to the more serious fare that populated the airwaves. The show suffered the misfortune of Jack Sue's tragic death around halfway through its run, but the ensuing tribute to him ranks among the most poignant events in television history. When Barney Miller himself finally achieved the promotion that he sought for so long in the series finale, it brought the show to a satisfying conclusion, leaving us all with positive, long-lasting memories. As a Norman Lear show, One Day at a Time was a sitcom, yes, but also allowed itself to venture into the social issues of the day. That would be single motherhood and the struggles that accompany it, which at the time of the show's release was much less prevalent with much less coverage than the modern day, but certainly no less impactful. Anne Romano, portrayed masterfully by Bonnie Franklin, is an exemplary role model to anyone facing such circumstances, loving her two daughters unconditionally, taking corrective action when necessary, and wanting nothing more than to provide them with a better life than she had herself growing up, all while they brought distinct personalities to the table that could be difficult to juggle. With building Super Schneider always around to provide levity, One Day at a Time succeeded in showing us that families are what we make of them, with many successful combinations available, so long as an abiding love and trust existed between all parties. It deserved both its long run and more recognition from today's audiences. A substantive argument can be made that Taxi had the greatest ensemble cast in television history. It's not just that so many of them went on to great careers afterwards, establishing legacies that many may only dream of, but it's also in just how well they gel together as a cast, creating enough chemistry to make Walter White jealous. The show certainly got its due while in first-run broadcast, winning several Emmy and Golden Globe awards, but what gets lost in the shuffle is the show's premise. It was about taxi drivers in New York City. On the face of it, that doesn't hold much promise in terms of critical and popular appeal, but darn it if they didn't pull it off, and with aplomb. Taxi also didn't shy away from social issues, but it was first and foremost a comedy, and there was always something delightfully droll about seeing a group of young people disillusioned with life, having their dreams presented to them before being cruelly snuffed out. It's a trick to make that funny, and Taxi could always pull off that trick. For a show that had every opportunity to fall down the rabbit hole of cliché and convention, Gimme a Break managed to carry itself to a strong showing, at least in its early years, on the presence of Nell Carter, an Emmy Award nominated and Tony Award winning actress. The premise of the show saw Carter's character Nellie as the housekeeper for the widowed Carl Kiniski, played by Dolph Sweet, and his 3 daughters, placing Nellie at the center of all the action. While this was hardly groundbreaking, Benson hit the air 2 years earlier and, of course, was spotlighted in this video's predecessor, Carter made it feel like it was, holding everything together with her charm and screen magnetism. Like Barney Miller before it, Gimme a Break suffered the loss of a cast member when Dolph Sweet passed away during the show's run. This altered the direction of the show, and its quality never reached the same heights. But when it was on, it was on. Was it a reimagining of The Odd Couple with women in the roles of Felix and Oscar? Was it the predecessor to Sex and the City? Was it the Doris Day Show with Doris being split into 2 characters? All of the above and none of the above. The divergent directions available to Kate and Allie made it one of the most unique shows, not just of its era, but in all of television history. 2 divorced women sharing a house together with their children may seem like an atypical subject for broad appeal, and may seem better suited as a drama series, but such precepts were shattered by this show's excellent writing and acting. The consistency displayed by these 2 characters, while dealing with the struggles of their daily lives, both professionally and personally, enthralled audiences of all types. Unfortunately, that consistency couldn't be maintained into its final season, and with a fairly drastic shift in the show's direction, it lost its initial charm. Yet, we never stopped rooting for these 2 women, reveling in their many successes. If a television show being pitched in 1983 was turned down by the major networks, there was pretty much no recourse. However, the creators of Brothers would not be deterred, and when an opening appeared, they were ready to pounce. Showtime, a premium cable network known for broadcasting movies, had recently ventured into original television, and the match with Brothers was perfect. Brothers, naturally, was a show about 3 brothers, one of whom left his prospective bride at the altar. His reason? He was gay. In the early to mid-1980s, this was considered controversial if not outright taboo for network television, explaining why the show wasn't so easily greenlit. The relationship between the brothers, all of varying personalities, in light of this new information, was a central theme of the show, something the networks were unable to overlook. On Showtime, the show and its characters were treated with tenderness, allowing them to be properly fleshed out and consequently popular with all audiences. It's no small understatement to call Brothers groundbreaking, while importantly remaining subtle and reserved. When a television show is supposed to be about one thing, but winds up having to be about something totally different, that doesn't make the prospects for long-term success very high. Bucking that trend was A Different World, spun off from The Cosby Show with Lisa Bonet's Denise Huxtable as the main character and Marissa Tomei as her co-lead. After season 1, neither of those 2 were on the show anymore, and major adjustments needed to be made in order to maintain its season 1 success. With Debbie Allen leading the way creatively, and a cast led by Jasmine Guy, Dawn Lewis, and Kadeem Hardison, they successfully pulled off this feat. Despite maintaining many Cosby Show connections, the show was revamped to reflect campus life at a historically black college, while taking on more risque issues that would have been somewhat out of place in the family household-oriented Cosby Show. This realistic display, combined with smart comedy and engaging storylines, gave A Different World a unique charm that had an impact on many people. We now look at another spin-off, this time of The Golden Girls, Empty Nest, starring Richard Mulligan as Dr. Harry Weston. After the death of his wife, his 2 adult daughters, Carol and Barbara, moved back in with him. The family dynamics went in every direction between the 3 of them, with often the most amusing of these taking place between Carol and Barbara. The show's breakout star, though, was Laverne, Dr. Weston's nurse. Through her sass and straightforward manner, she brought levity to every situation, always keeping Harry on his toes. The seismic changes in Harry's life underpin all these relationships, and we are provided with ample opportunity to empathize with him every step of the way, while enjoying the amusing situations he often finds himself in. The show took a turn when Kristy McNichol left the cast and when Harry retired from his job in the hospital. And while it wasn't quite the same after these changes, it maintained its structural integrity and never lost track of what it was. Taking place in the same fictional universe as powerhouse shows like Cheers and Frasier means having to live underneath a gigantic shadow, but this shadow never dampened the riveting excellence that was Wings. One could even argue that Wings, on the whole, had a better and deeper cast than either Cheers or Frasier. Like Taxi, Wings presented a simple premise and location, replacing taxi cabs with an airplane and taxi depots with an airport. Interpersonal relationships are the driving, or flying, force of Wings, with brothers Joe and Brian Hackett attempting to reconcile their past difficulties. Holding them together was Helen, an aspiring musician who ran the airport's lunch counter and was later Joe's romantic interest. They are joined by a lovable collection of characters, and together they formed the crew that brought us so many laughs. While Wings received its share of plaudits during its run, it always felt unheralded, a supporting player in the NBC lineup meant to hold up other, more lucrative hits. Wings deserves better than that and should be remembered as a stalwart all its own. A show starring a teenaged girl on Nickelodeon leaves no room to the imagination as to who the show's target audience is. That said, Clarissa Explains It All was indeed a show for all audiences. Tasked with carrying the cast was 14-year-old Melissa Joan Hart, a tough ask for anyone of such a tender age. Not only did she do just that, she turned Clarissa into one of television's most compelling protagonists. One need not be, nor ever have been, a teenage girl to understand and relate to her various predicaments. Sibling rivalries, young love, accepting more responsibility, growing up. These are universal themes for adults, and for the younger viewers yet to experience such things, provided an incredible window of context for when those days would inevitably come. Clarissa Explains It All wasn't the first show to feature a young female lead, but it did much to open the door for other such shows, including Hannah Montana, Lizzie McGuire, and The Secret World of Alex Mack. More than just a teen sitcom, this confluence of quality and impact is rare indeed. In the 75 years or so that the sitcom has existed, Herman's Head may still count itself as having its single most unique premise. A character's internal monologue can be presented in many ways, but never had it been personified to the point that it was inside of Herman's head, transforming the concept of an internal monologue into an internal dialogue. No one retains a singular line of thought throughout life, and Herman is no exception. The different parts of his psyche, the shameless animal, the fretful wimp, the considerate angel, and the rational genius, combine to make Herman a multi-dimensional character, bringing credence to his every action. Herman's workplace environment adds to this dynamic, but no one steals the show quite like the often hostile Hetty, whose rare moments of vulnerability added a value to the show that really pulled everything together. Perhaps Herman's Head was too far ahead for its time, as it never caught on in the ratings and didn't make it to a fourth season. Maybe in a time of social media, it could have latched on and had a long, fruitful run. Had the executives at Fox looked solely at ratings, it's likely that Living Single would not have made it past the second season, and possibly not past its first. In its 5 total seasons, It ranked outside the top 100 3 times, outside the top 75 4 times, and outside the top 50 every time. Yet, Living Single still churned out 118 episodes. The easy explanation to this was that the show was so good that it was able to overcome such ratings, and, well, it's easy because that is the explanation. The main cast of Queen Latifah, Kim Coles, Erica Alexander, and Kim Fields was a force to be reckoned with, expertly displaying the foibles of their characters in a humorous manner. The show skillfully balanced the personal and professional lives of its characters, flushing out its world and providing the audience with an endless foray of laughter and insight. No easy trick, that. The show remained persistently positive at its heart, and that quality that kept the show alive in the first place never wavered. As always, if you think I should have included any different shows from the ones I did, I would love to hear from you in the comments. In the meantime, I would ask that you hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and to share it with a friend or two. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I would appreciate it beyond words. With all the incredible television shows that are out there, it may be worth exploring this topic one more time. Thank you all so very much, and I hope you have an awesome day.